Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. I'm willing to make a bet that not too many people hear people talk about public education in a positive light. Very often what you will usually hear people saying is that it is a dismal failure and it is in desperate need of reform. But what I wanted to talk to you about today is the fact that our public education system, no matter how much grumbling people do about it, is never going to see true education reform. And that is because public education is our government's biggest success story. You might think that I am being facetious when I say that, and maybe I am in a way, but in a way it really is true. The public education system is our government's biggest success story. The problem that people have with understanding this is that most people rightly think that the education system is about education. You know, go figure. They think that it's about academics and teaching kids to read and write and how to get around when they're adults and how to get good jobs and how to be competent in all sorts of areas. That is the picture that we have when we hear public education system. But that's not what it was built for. The public education system was built to create obedient workers. I've gone into this in so many of my other videos, so I'm not going to get into it too much today, but I will summarize that our school system that we have right now, it was put in place during the Industrial Revolution because they wanted to train obedient factory workers. They wanted to train people who were going to listen to what their superiors had to say, who were not going to complain about having these menial jobs. And in essence, they really wanted to take people out of their self-sustaining homes. Remember, during this time, most people, were doing everything on their own. They were usually growing their own food, building their own houses, making their own clothing. They were really and truly independent. What was happening, though, was since the Industrial Revolution was kicking up, people like Rockefeller and Carnegie, they started to worry about things like overproduction. They were afraid that they were going to have so many different things made that they would not have people to buy them because people knew how to do all these things on their own. So when they took children by force, yes, by force, I'm going to say it, there were parents who actually fought tooth and nail against sending their kids to school every day because the government told them to. So yeah, by force. When they took these kids out of their homes by force, another reason that they wanted to do it besides training these workers for their factories was because once these kids were taken out of their homes, they were no longer at home to learn these useful skills that would keep them independent. And in turn, this is how our consumer-driven society came to be. So if you look at our public education system, that is exactly what has happened. We have generations of people who have a really difficult time thinking for themselves, do not like to question authority in any way, and pretty much don't know how to do anything on their own anymore. And this goes for me too. I just made a video a little while ago about gardening and how I was never taught how to garden, but it is something that I want to teach my kids because I want them to back away from this consumer-driven lifestyle and I want them to be self-sufficient. But if you actually look at our school system today, especially today, in this present era, there is no greater example of the success of our public education system. Not that kids are being educated. They are being trained. Now, I should point out that shortly after the compulsory schooling education system was instituted, they started to talk about having socialism brought into it. It was all a plan to have socialism and cultural Marxism brought into our school systems, and that is exactly what has happened. Now, up until this point, the powers that be in our country have not been very forthright about the fact that socialism was really a goal that they had in mind. And it certainly isn't something that they would have come right out and said that they were trying to instill in kids in school. But now it's that's not so much the case. You know, we have congressmen and congresswomen who are saying that they are socialists. And so this is happening here and now. And one thing that I really, really wanted to bring out to you is the fact that years ago, it was always the kids who were rebelling. You know, when I was in school, the generations before me, it would be the kids who would rebel, and it would be the parents or the adults who would say, hey, you know, you need to start getting in line, you need to start obeying authority. And it seems that there has been an entire flip-flop going on right now. We now have a generation of adults who are finally waking up, who are breaking free of the literal brainwashing that happens in the public education system. Not just there, it happens in the media, it happens in the movies, but that foundation is laid in the public education system. From the time a child is 4 or 5 years old, it starts. They are being prepared for a lifetime of indoctrination. So, as I said, you know, there is a huge awakening going on right now, and adults everywhere are waking up. But what I've noticed is that the kids who are in school, and, you know, whether it would be high school, college, they are the ones who are now completely wanting to submit to authority. And when I say that they want to submit to authority, I mean their kind of authority, the people who are bringing them up in these school systems. Now, if you would ask these kids if they are submitting to authority in this way, they would tell you, no way. Because kids nowadays, and I think this is really the key to how this is happening, kids nowadays are being brought up in school. They're being taught the belief that they are trailblazers and they have new ideas and that they somehow have more wisdom than adults do. And it is something that you see happening everywhere. You just see kids who are out there and they are literally the foot soldiers of the elite. They don't know this though. They think that they are doing something new. They think that they're doing something fresh, and they think that they're going to save our country, but they have literally been brainwashed into this. They do not understand that they are completely being molded by those powers that be, whether you call it the deep state, whatever you call it. They are being molded. They are being used to carry out the plans of what those in charge want to be happening. And it's terrible. It is at the point now where you see people who are completely afraid to question everything or to question anything at all. You know, like for example, I was reading a post by someone who they commented on another post where someone was saying that they did not vaccinate their kids. And someone actually commented back and said, well, I hope that you realize that your child is going to die by the time they're 3 years old. People believe this stuff. They are believing this nonsense that is being fed into them. They are so afraid of actually looking into things that they are believing lies, blatant lies like that. And you know, it's not just about that. There are so many different areas of life right now that people are starting to just break free, and they're starting to look into them for once. For so long, we have been told everything. We have never been taught to question things. We've been taught what other people have found out, and we've been taught that they are smarter than we are, so we shouldn't bother looking into anything because they've already got it all figured out. And that is really where we're at the point that is happening with what I see a lot of teenagers especially going through right now. They are at this time where they themselves are falling for that. They do not believe that it is feasible in any way to question anything that they were taught. And part of the reason I believe that they don't really care about questioning what they were taught is because they're being coddled. They are being told that they are these trailblazing people who are going to change everything, and they don't realize that they're being used. And, you know, it's sad because, yes, you always had teenagers who would kind of scoff at the older generation. But if you look at it, in all fairness, if you would go back and look at it, for the most part, the youth have very much respected their elders until what I'm seeing now. Even now, like on my own Instagram page, very often I will post memes or just photos that I've taken, and I will talk about things and how I've looked into things and learned things that other people don't believe. And you will very often find high schoolers that just make these snide comments on the post. And I'm not going to even say it's just mine. I see it happening on so many other pages that I follow on Instagram, where you have adults who are looking into things, who are really, really researching things for years and are trying to spread the word about the things that they have learned. And you've got these high school age kids who are just going on, and they really do leave these snide comments, and they truly do not believe that they could ever possibly be wrong, because they have been brainwashed to believe that they are somehow intellectually and morally superior than their elders. So that is what is happening in schools, and that is what they always wanted to happen in schools. They wanted a citizenry that would be easy to control in this way. They wanted a citizenry who would be willing to do their part to carry out whatever plans they had. This is exactly what they wanted. So the point of this is, don't expect education reform to happen anytime soon. Why would they change it? It's doing what it was meant to do all along. Anyway, that's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one down below, unless they still have my comments disabled, in which case you can always check out my Instagram page. I will leave a link in the description box for that. And if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page and see what rewards I have for my patrons there, you can do that as well. I'll leave that link too. And I hope you have a great day.